Moving on to our next brand partner, they are integrating tech-enabled sustainability across their 2026 developments, including energy-efficient logistic hubs and smart building systems that reduce operational impact. Now, all of those initiatives help maximize energy efficiency, reduce waste, and simplify operations, making every property more eco-friendly. Right here to provide us with deeper understanding of the stock market for a sustainable future, we have here today a title holder of the Master of Financial Technical Analysis, or MFTA, the highest global accreditation in technical analysis, and the first awarded in the whole Philippines. Invited by Robinsons Land Commercial Inc., a real estate investment trust, please welcome right here on stage, Trading Edge Chief Investment Strategist and Co-founder, Mr. Ron Acoba.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. So this morning, I will briefly discuss how we, as students and faculties, can be literal stakeholders through investing towards the move to sustainability. So, and this is actually very, very relevant today because when talking about investing, the first important thing that we need to encounter is inflation, right? Inflation is very, very relevant to where we are today. Why? Because, yeah, as you guys are all aware, prices of literally everything has surged. Not just risen, but surged. The word is surge. In the past, not just in the past month, not just in the past year or so, but in just as little as the past few weeks. By the way, inflation is the yearly increase in the prices of goods and services. Since 2019 up to today, on average, prices of goods and services tumaas na ng more or less 25%. And we can expect it to rise even further given that what is happening today, right? And I've said that this is very relevant because all of us are aware that we are currently in an energy crisis. To the point that from end of February to today, prices ng gasolina more than doubled, right? Imagine that, in just 2 months, prices of gasoline, prices of diesel, gas, kerosene, more than times 2. To the point na yung mga gas stations, hindi na kasya sa digital display nila yung presyo. Kailangan na nila maglagay ng mag-tape ng number 1 dun sa tabi. This is actually unprecedented because even for me, I've never seen prices of gas reach triple digits in my life, right? So, mga presyo, triple digits to the point na hindi na nga ginagamit yung digital display. Nagdidikit na ng papel just to put kung gaano kalaki ang tinaas ng presyo ng gasolina. And this is actually a meme that I've seen very, very recently. So if you have a loved one, the next time that you want to bring them to a place for a date kung saan mamahalin, pwede nyo na silang ilabas sa gas station, right? And this is actually one of the things that I find very nice about Filipinos because even in the midst of a crisis, we still manage to find something that is positive, something that is fun. So we make fun of the difficulties, which shows our resilience to the crisis that we have on hand. This particular image in front of you, this was trending a week or 2 ago in Jensen. There was a student, so rather than bringing or riding a jeepney to go to school, he brought and rode a horse. Dinala niya, papasok sa eskwela. With how prices are nowadays, in fact, as of last night, global prices of crude tumaas ulit ng almost 10% to $110 per barrel. The highest since the conflict. So we can expect after 2 weeks of rollbacks, di ba? We have rollbacks recently. Next week, we can expect prices to be at its highest sa mga gas stations ulit because unfortunately, mas lumalala yung mga nangyayari sa Middle East. But having said that, going back to this particular picture, perhaps the transition to EVs may not necessarily be the thing to do. Perhaps we may need to go back to 100 years ago, 200 years ago, or even back all the way to UST's founding, 1611, na instead of riding tricycles or jeepneys, perhaps kalesa pwede na, di ba? Kabayo. Damo lang ang kailangan, hindi mo na kailangan ng gasolina, hindi mo na kailangan ng electricity. Now, ito affected ako dito because it's summer. Sobrang init, di ba? So, my wife and I, siguro in a week, we can go as much as twice. Halo-halo fix, ang init eh. Di ba? So, we always want to get bebang. Bebang for us is the best halo-halo. Mahal siya, but taste-wise, it's really good. And for the longest time, 188 pesos lang yung presidential halo-halo. Mahal na nga yun to begin with. And I found out, because we were trying to buy a week ago, 228 pesos na siya. From 188 pesos 4 weeks ago, biglang tumalon to 228. That's, by the way, a 21% increase in just a short span of time. So, inflation na ako mismo affected. Now, another form of inflation. Now, if you go back to previous years, it's very easy to find, 50 peso budget meal, di ba? Pumunta ka sa labas ng FEU, ang dami nagbebenta. Diyan sa likod, dimsum treats, di ba? Siomai rice, 50 pesos for the longest time. Nowadays, wala ka nang makikitang ganon. Kung meron man, 100 pesos na siya. At actually, even at 100 pesos, parang wala ka nang masyadong makita. Ganon na kabilis tumaas ang presyo quite recently. And if there's something, Mayor Isko mentioned kanina, that there are two certain things in the world, di ba? Death and taxes. I would like to add another one, which for me is pagtaas ng presyo. Parang certain yun, di ba? Every year, tumataas ang presyo ng mga bilihin. So it's really up to us to uplift ourselves to be able to be at pace with how prices are going. Kung hindi naman tumataas ang presyo, pareho lang siya, pero lumiliit. Diba? Tawag doon shrinkflation, parehong 99 pesos, pero yung dating 200-gram burger mo, 150 grams na lang. Right? So, one of the main reasons, uulitin ko, why we actually need to be a stakeholder through investing is that if meron man silver lining to all of this, aside from, having the capacity to be at pace with how prices are going, kanina it was also mentioned that going back to COVID, the transition that we saw, it actually hastened or fast-tracked the transition to the use of digital services, yung pag-transact through GCash, through Maya, because of the fact na nagkaroon ng pandemic. Because previously, wala naman ganon. People are still comfortable paying in cash. People are comfortable meeting face-to-face. Wala naman gumagamit ng Zoom. But since nagkaroon ng crisis, nagkaroon ng transition. Now, the transition that what we are seeing now, if there's a silver lining to all of these things, is that tila ba, actually not tila, but it's actually very apparent that there is a faster transition towards the use of renewable energy. Installation of solar for us consumers, installation of solar panels sa mga households, or use of electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles. However, the truth to the matter is, I just like to be objective and blunt, even if doing so or transitioning to that is actually the right thing to do, or even the financially viable thing to do, because doing so in itself is investing. Because, for example, if you're gonna buy rather than using a combustion powered car, you shift to an EV car, doing so would entail an upfront cost. Kailangan mong bumili, right? Rather than just continually paying your Meralco bill, kunwari, perhaps the better alternative is to install a solar grid system to your house, right? Because doing so would allow you, after 3 or 4 years, pwedeng umabot sa 0 per month yung babayaran mo. Same thing again with EV. Kung meron ka ng solar system sa bahay mo, nagcha-charge pa yung kotse mo sa bahay, effectively, hindi ka na nagbabayad ng gasolina, di ba? Mas mura. And kaya lang, to be honest, meron siyang upfront cost, right? Buying an EV is not cheap. Having a solar grid system installed in your house is not necessarily cheap. Financially viable, yes, because after 2 to 3 years, you can make your money back. But then again, the truth of the matter is there's an upfront cost to it. Even as simple as making a simple choice of, kunwari, bumili ka sa grocery, plastic bag or eco bag, right? The easiest choice is to go with a plastic bag. Why? Because it's free. They'll just give it to you, right? Eco bag, it's the right choice, but you need to spend 10 pesos for it, right? Sulit na siya because afterwards you can reuse and reuse and reuse again. But then again, what I'm saying is you need to shell out 10 pesos first, right? Another example that we can relate with, if you're throwing a party and choosing utensils between plastic spoon and forks versus bamboo spoon and fork, by default, the easiest and cheapest choice would be go for the disposable plastics. Why? Because it's cheaper, right? But the sustainable choice would be to choose the ones that are made with bamboo. But it's not necessarily cheap. And that is why we actually need to invest, aside from at least being at pace with inflation, is for us to uplift ourselves, financially speaking, for us to be able to afford these things. Because investing and doing this makes it easier by at least a degree or two for us to make a sustainable choice. We will no longer be capped by our means of always choosing the cheaper ones, right? So as I've mentioned, within this crisis that we're seeing, fast track yung transition to renewables, right? And as I've said, transitioning to electric vehicles and solar energy involves significant upfront costs, at least from a consumer point of view. Now, when talking about investing, I mentioned kanina that we are in a crisis. We are in an energy crisis right now. For 2 months already, since the attack that the US did in Iran end of February, so it's going 2 months roughly. And since we are in a crisis and talking about investing, we are actually here, dun sa sad face dun sa baba, yung depressed na emoji, right? So markets essentially are move in cycles. Markets and economies move in cycles. There is a period of time kung kailan may prosperity, right? Everyone is making money, businesses are doing good. And there is naman a time when everything is falling apart, or at least it appears so, right? Maraming naghihirap because of the environment. We are at that particular environment right now, right at the sad face emoji, right? And the last time that this happened previous to pandemic. The very recent one was the pandemic because everything was closed, right? The previous one was during the global financial crisis. And during the global financial crisis, same thing, all of the prices of investment vehicles were mostly down, like really, really down and depressed. However, the good and the best thing to do about it, much like what Mr. Ku Injeng said a while ago, is perhaps we need to be critical. We need to think. We can't just accept what is. The best thing to do is, acknowledge that this is how it is right now. The next question should be, what are you going to do about it? Short of saying, there are opportunities despite the fact that we are in a crisis. And like I said, the last time that this happened, previous to the pandemic, was the global financial crisis, where the likes of, for example, JG Summit. JG Summit, by the way, is the parent company of Robinsons Land. During the global financial crisis back in 2008 and 2009, their share prices have fallen to about 1 peso 50 cents to 2 pesos. And then, of course, eventually market recovered, economies recovered, right? 6-7 years after that particular crisis, look what happened. The share prices rose to as much as 80 pesos, from 1 peso 50 cents to as much as 80 pesos. And I recently found out na ang tawag pala dito, you guys term it, is paldo. Paldo means jackpot. I never encountered that word previously, but I just encountered it. So, paldo. Those who were able to get in when prices are cheap during the crisis back in that particular time and waited for things to recover, just 6-7 years, the market rewarded them handsomely. Now, past performances, I need to say this, past performances don't necessarily guarantee future returns, but these are the kinds of opportunities will be presented to you during a crisis. You just need to look, you just need to act. Now, Robinsons Land is the real estate arm of JG Summit. It's moving towards sustainability through renewable energy, through green certification buildings, and through waste reduction with a commitment to reduce, with a commitment to have a zero carbon footprint by 2050. Now, you can be a part of RLC's growth and RLC's drive to sustainability through investing with them, either through direct property purchase or through buying of shares. Now, perhaps as a student, it's not yet the time for us to, buy a property outright. But even as early as now, and as low as 1,750 pesos, you can already buy shares in the company. And vis-a-vis buying a condo, buying shares, you're actually not just a shareholder of the company, you can actually consider yourself as a part owner of RLC already. Not just an owner of your condominium unit, but a part owner of the entire company for as low as 1,750 pesos as we speak. Now, RC-REIT or RCR is the REIT vehicle of RLC. REIT is essentially the owner and operator of RLC's leasing segment. And by law, at least 90% of its distributable income are required to be distributed to all of its shareholders through cash dividends. And as of now, yung yield na maaari mong makuha in RCR is about 6.3%. So if you have 50,000 pesos and put it in RCR, that 50,000 pesos compounded annually at a rate of 6.3% is actually 67,000 pesos after 5 years, and 92,000 pesos after 10 years. And we're just talking about dividends. We're not even talking about potential capital growth. Same thing with owning your own property, di ba? There's a potential for capital appreciation, the value of your property increasing, aside from the fact that you can also lease it out and earn a yield from it, right? So through investing in the market, JGS, you can actually buy a minimum of 27,000 pesos worth, as low as 27,000 worth. Robinsons Land, 17,500, and then RCR, 6,800, assuming you aim to buy 100 shares. And this is accessible by going through the stock market, which is actually the virtual place where you can buy and sell shares. And again, right, doing so will not only allow us to be at pace with inflation. That's the first hurdle, di ba? And a lot of these things are, we are just taking it for granted. You're actually at a head start, because when I started, I only thought about investing maybe 3 or 5 years after I graduated already. It only hit me when I already had a girlfriend that, parang 5 years na lang, gusto ko na magpakasal. And I never had anything to my name during that particular time. You, as a student, for example, you're what? 18, 19 years old or 20 years old, plan to get married at around 30, 31, you have 10 years to build your wealth, not just to be at pace with inflation, but in terms of sustainability, to be able to make that easier choice and not just be limited by what you have. And you can do that through the firm that I'm with, Cabales Go Securities, your trusted partner in financial independence. And my firm, Trading Edge Consultancy. Thank you.